We're always talking 90% about our game and 10% about the opposition's game. We conceded just one goal in the 5 FA Cup games. We were winning 3-0 at Fulham. We were winning 3-0 against Aston Villa. So why changing everything? No. Keep the good things and make a few adjustments to the City game, and that's how we will approach the game.
My guest today is a manager who's overseen one of the most stealth, joyful footballing transformations of the past 15 months, metamorphosising Crystal Palace into one of the most kinetic collectives who defend with tenacity and attack with a breathless potency that leaves no corner flag left unkicked. He now has South London's finest in an FA Cup final against Manchester City, and within 90 minutes of their first domestic trophy in 119 years of history. And the entire world, bar City and Brighton fans, will be rooting for them. Willkommen to Crystal Palace manager, it's Mr. Oliver Glasner.
Oh, hello, Rog.
Oh, Oliver, I've been looking forward to speaking to you. You've had an incredible journey. When you joined Palace, 2024, February, team were wallowing 5 points off the relegation zone. You're now on the verge of setting a club record for points in a season. You're on your way to Wembley. Can you describe in your own words the style of play that's made it possible? What does an Oliver Glasner team feel like?
I never want to talk about an Oliver Glasner team. It's always a Crystal Palace team, and it's all about the players because, I can have ideas, whatever I want. If it's not the ideas of the players, it doesn't work. So, we have to transmit our ideas into the mind of the players, and then they have to execute it on the pitch. And therefore, you need, of course, high talented players. You need great characters. You need a group of players that is wanting to work together. And this is what we found already when we arrived. And then it's about building a team spirit, a common idea of how we want to attack, a common idea of how we want to defend, and especially how we want to deal with each other day by day. And this is started 15 months ago, and now we are on the journey, so the journey is not over now. But yes, we had great experiences, great moments, and the final will be one of these.
You talk about the idea behind your football. It comes from a fascinating set of places. You're a cerebral defender, played in the Austrian top tier. You earned a business degree, became a coaching assistant, first at Red Bull Salzburg. I know you were heavily influenced by Jurgen Klopp's emergence, that style of pounding, pressing football. And you even spent time in San Francisco learning from the Golden State Warriors. You frequently watch NBA and NHL games for tactical ideas. Can you talk about the last two? About American sports and what you've taken from them that have fed into your unique coaching blend?
For me, it's important. I'm in football for more than 30 years now. And, then you maybe get a little bit blind because you think it's always the same. And then sometimes it's important also to look at other sports, to look to other businessmen, and successful businessmen, what they're doing. Because in every team sport, you have to form a team. It's the same in basketball. It's the same in football. Different numbers of players. But it's always about a team performance, that everybody knows what he has to do for the team. And this is where I get also new informations, new input. And it was great to visit the Golden State Warriors. And for example, in NFL football, football is for me is like set play after set play. And in football, in soccer, I say every third goal is scored from set play. So then also we can see, okay, how they prepare, and then keep going and getting new influence. And I try, wherever in the world, not just in the soccer world, wherever in the world, together with my staff, where we can get new input that helps us. And then sometimes you can use it in soccer, sometimes you can't, but it's good also for my personality.
Who's your NFL team that you support, Oliver?
One of our owners owns the Washington Commanders, so of course it's the Commanders.
Oh, God bless Josh Harris. This Saturday, you're playing the FA Cup final against the dreadnought Manchester City of Pep Guardiola. And when you met earlier in the season, you took a 2-0 lead. You know the end result, but you told Pep after that 5-2 defeat that if he played the same system again, that you'd beat him. How do you know that, Oliver? And how does one prepare for Pep Guardiola tactically, mentally, emotionally?
I didn't say that we beat him the next time. I said we will solve it. Because it's at the end in this game, he played with 8 players more or less in the middle of the pitch. And he found the pocket players too often because we didn't close it well enough. And I could see it during the game, but we couldn't change it. And so we were too vulnerable because we scored 2 goals. As you mentioned, we scored almost the third goal was disallowed. And we will be able to create our chances, but we have to find a better way how we defend them, because we played them 3 times since I arrived at Crystal Palace, and we always scored 2 goals, but we conceded 4, 2 and 5. So clearly too many goals. This is what we're all looking for, to compete with the best. And Pep definitely is one of the best in soccer, and not just this year, in over a decade. It's a great challenge for all of us, and we will prepare in the best way, and we will be ready. And then it's a final, it's a football game, everything can happen. And then we want to enjoy the Wembley atmosphere.
It's been a joy to watch your young team soar this season, and one of the most singular, talent-soaked young blokes in the Premier League. He's really a magic wand of a player. It's Eberechi Eze. Can you tell us about Eberechi, how you understand his brain, what he sees and feels, because he's capable of creating art?
And first of all, we always want every single player that he plays with his strengths. We want that every player feels comfortable on the pitch. And that everybody can express himself. This is what you need to have confidence on the pitch, that you can show your strengths, your talent. If somebody asks you to do something you can't really do well, so that you get a lack of confidence. So we encourage every single player and try to find the best formation, the best position on the pitch where he can express himself and show his strengths. And Eberechi, yes, he's a great dribbler. He has an amazing finish. So we want to get him into these situations. Yes, defensively, he has to do his job for the team. But in the attack, it's also giving him freedom and his creativity. We ask him to do things but then he decides to do different things, and that's good. The players have to take the decisions. He's not a robot. He's a human being, and you need this freedom. It's always to find the right balance between telling a player what he has to do, especially in attack, and also let his creativity. For me, creativity is more freedom, and structure maybe is the opposite of creativity, and then find the right balance. But if you have a creative player, then also let him take his own decisions on the pitch and trust in him. And this is what Ebbs can do, especially in the final third. If he thinks he dribbles, he should dribble. If he thinks he finishes, he should finish. And if he thinks he should pass, he passes. And that's good. And it's just that always all the others giving options. But the decision will always be with the guy who has the ball.
On the training ground, you've banned talk about the FA Cup final until you've taken care of everything that's to do in the Premier League. One game at a time is your mentality. Stay chill. But you've also warned against fearing big clubs. You quote, "If you fear failing, then you will." How do you prepare your squad to forge that balance, Oliver, between belief and still treating this game as if it's just another game?
I didn't ban them to talk about the final, so it's not possible. But I said, okay, we won't talk about the final together in meetings and when we prepare. Of course, I think everybody has to organize many tickets for family, friends, whatever. So the final is omnipresent at the moment. But we don't talk about it in team meetings. We always talk about our last game when we are analyzing it, and we talk about the next opposition. When we started 15 months ago, we said, okay, we don't talk about winning a game. We're always talking about our performance. So my conviction is, when you always talk about winning, it can happen that you lose the focus on the things you need to win a game. So you can't influence winning or losing, but you can influence your performance. You can influence what you do in attack. You can influence what you do in transition. You can influence what you do in set plays. And this leads to a victory or to a defeat. And that's why we're always talking about our game. 90% about our game and 10% about the opposition's game. Because also we can't influence how our city is playing. So we have to be prepared, and they can change it during the game. He can play without the winger, with many players in the middle, and then he can make 2 subs, and here all of a sudden he has 2 wide wingers. Do you have the right solutions for both situations? So it's really, the focus is on our game, what we want to do, what brought us into the final. Also not changing too much. Why? We are there. We conceded just 1 goal in the 5 FA Cup games. We were winning 3-0 at Fulham. We were winning 3-0 against Aston Villa. So why changing everything? No. Keep the good things, keep the positive things, and make a few adjustments to the City game. And that's how we will approach the game.
My favourite quote of yours: "Success is like when you eat a piece of chocolate and you think, that's good, I want more." And we've seen a Premier League season in which the middle of the table has become ever more ruthless, more capable of crashing the big 6 than ever before. Is there a ceiling for Crystal Palace? Or could this FA Cup kick off a new virtuous cycle of success in South London?
I don't know. It's the same. I don't want to set a limit for us, because as soon as you set a limit, then it's difficult to go further. And I don't know. We always want to go further. So my answer is just, okay, focus on what we want to do. day by day, improve step by step, work hard, give your best day by day, enjoy the time together, have a great environment at the training ground. And yes, there will be a few defeats. Defeats are part of life, part of course, of any sports, but especially also as life. You know, you have some failure and it's how you deal with it. And then the more you enjoy the wins, the more you enjoy the successes. So I don't know if there is a ceiling, but to be honest, in my life, in my career, I never met a player who reached his ceiling. I didn't reach my ceiling, so it's always keep going.
Last question for you, Oliver. I admire you greatly because of your football, also the way you approach life. You actually retired 5 days before your 37th birthday. You suffered a terrible brain hemorrhage, which forced you to relearn how to walk, how to talk. You've seen over that cliff edge between life and death. We think being a manager is stressful, but when the media's baying at the gates and the Premier League walls feel like they're closing in late at night in your office, do you call back on those moments and remember that this is just football, that being at Wembley at the end of the day is just football, that the FA Cup final is just football? I guess what I'm asking is, how often do you call on those moments for perspective?
I think at the end, it's not just because of my personal history or what happened to me, but yes, our job, football, is very important. The final is very important. But at the end, and you know, it's when you have a family and somebody gets a severe illness or something, all of a sudden, all this stuff is not important anymore. You know, and this is, you know, not just when it's yourself, you know, it's even tougher when it's your child or your wife or your mother or your father. So I think it's very important, and this is just how I am, you know, always staying humble and appreciating, having a big value for what we are doing. You know, I feel very privileged, you know, in the job I'm doing, in the environment I'm working, getting all this attention. But Oliver Glasner isn't a better person because he wins 5 games or wins the FA Cup, and I think he isn't a bad or worse person if he loses 3 games in a row. Oliver Glasner is Oliver Glasner as a human being, and then, okay, he can be successful in his job as a football manager, or he can fail in his job as a football manager, but the person Oliver Glasner will be the same.
To you, to your family, to your team, to your Washington Commanders, and to Crystal Palace fans everywhere, danke, viel Glück, Oliver.
Okay, thank you very much.
Courage,